Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Harry Brailsford here, and it is Thursday. I'm happy to announce it's sunny in Seattle. We had a heck of a winter, so that's pretty cool. A little bit of housekeeping. If the people on the line, first, if you could go on mute if you're in the background, appreciate that. Number two, use the questions feature to ask your questions of everybody, and then we'll get to those as we are, your questions of the panelists. We'll get to those as we're able. Couple of things coming up. I'll be at Sage next week, Sage Summit, the accounting software company in Atlanta. I saw many of you at Ingram and Lenovo the past couple of weeks. I'm starting to point to DataCon in Denver in early June. WPC July 9th through 13th, might have Jenny there as well. And then ChannelCon early August. CompTIA ChannelCon in Austin early August again. Jenny, I'm thinking you might like that one. Austin's a fun city. And finally, if you look at smbnation.com, you'll see the tech tour has been announced. I promised you we were going to be announcing that. We did. And you can sign up for the online 6 classes tech tour. But the main reason, let's get started. The main reason we're here today is to talk about the ABCs of marketing for Office 365. Always a crowd pleaser. And we're with our good friends from SureWeb. So why don't I give the talking stick over to, let's see, Simon. Do I see you out there in La La Land, sir?
In La La Land? Hi, Harry. It's a pleasure to join you today and everyone from the community. Always a pleasure talking to you. So just to give you a little bit of background of why we decided to talk about this, because we always have a little talk with Harry before these webinars saying what we're going to talk about, and we've done a lot of work around helping our partners with sales around Office 365 with some initiatives around quoting tools and pricing and licensing understanding, but a lot of lead generation and marketing questions and challenges come up pretty often, and that's something that we're starting today with that webinar with your community around a whole campaign and whole work around to help our partners to market Office 365. So hopefully you're gonna like it, and we're looking forward for your feedback and questions you have throughout the presentation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So my name is Simon. I'm the marketing strategist for Office 365 at SureWeb, so obviously you have the right person. And Mo is joining me. Thank you for being here, Mo.
Thank you. I'm joining today because I'm in charge of a new role for SureWeb. I'm in charge of what's called Managed Marketing Strategist. So we have a huge partner network here at SureWeb, and your successes are super important for us. And we hear time and time again that marketing is usually a pain point for partners. So the point of my my new position is to hear you guys, know what your problems are, and solve them for you. So eventually what we're working on is some kind of turnkey solution marketing-wise to help you guys successes.
Super. And Simon and Matt, if you don't mind, I just wanted to interject that as I've traveled around, I keep hearing your name. I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm having fun at night at the Lenovo outside party with the DJ and the music. You know how that stuff goes at a conference, and
yeah.
You know, I'm consistently hearing your company name, and you cannot buy. Well, that's a really important point, because you know you can't buy that awareness. Well, I guess you can buy it, but
okay. Well, it makes more sense that you hear SureWeb's name than Simon's name, because I was a bit surprised that you heard Simon's name at a Lenovo call.
Okay, please continue.
Yeah, so today's agenda, basically that's the introduction, but we're gonna move forward with basic understanding of web marketing tactics. So very high level, not specific to Office 365 to start with. And then we're going to move forward to how does it apply to an MSP trying to sell Office 365 services and added value. And throughout that presentation, I know it's a different point there, but we're going to give you some tools, free and some paid tools and resources from ShareWeb to leverage to help you start with an edge on that. So Maud?
So I'm going to take over for the web marketing tactics. So it's a quick overview. We can talk about marketings for weeks on end. So I'm going to go fairly fast, and it's going to be top level, but you might have some questions, so don't hesitate to type them in. And if we have the time, we're going to look them over at the end. If not, you can just reach out to us either on LinkedIn or something, and we can figure it out. So the first thing to understand about web marketing is that since the internet came, there's been a huge shift in the behavior of your potential clients. Before the internet, we had relatively uninformed clients. Let's say you wanted to buy something, or maybe not even, you were just watching TV and then an infomercial will come in. You're interested in it, you pick up the phone, and you order.
Phone.
So that was a behavior that happened time and time again. You didn't really have any background information about the product. It was very linear, so like you learn about it, you decide if you want it or not, and then you buy. The marketing playbook was mostly interruption, so infomercial, commercial on television, on radio. So you were doing something else and then it stopped and you had to listen to someone pitching you a product. Nowadays, it's changed a lot. So the buyer is usually well informed. When we're planning on buying a new TV, we rarely just walk into Best Buy and we pick up the first one around the corner. We usually do a research, we compare models, we compare brands. So the buyer's journey is really fluid, it's really random, but both good and bad, it starts on Google most of the time. So the playbook is really about thought leadership at this point, and a good way to leverage that thought leadership is through content creation.
Mm-hmm. What's called
Maud,
marketing? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And Maud and Simon, I was going to say I've seen studies, and I've quoted in my own speeches. People are doing 60% of their buying research in advance. I saw one number as high as 70%.
89.
They're already 89. Let me write that one down.
89% of searches of buying cycles starts on Google. That's massive. So like the web marketing for today's customer, and that's not only for web marketing, but it's for marketing in general. A good tactic is to shift your effort online to get found by qualified leads, which doesn't mean anyone, just the person that are important for you, through content. So web pages, blog articles, social messaging, and all those messages are optimized for social media and search engines. You need to understand that with that content, you're going to pull your potential buyers through a sales funnel, and you need to work that context to personalize your marketing.
All fancy words.
Yeah, I know. It's
the courtscape. Next slide.
Yeah. So I said 89 earlier. 89 start on Google, but 78% of internet users conduct product research online. So that's the number that you referred to earlier, I think. 70% of the link search by users are clicked organically. You might have noticed that when you go on Google and you do a research, the top links are usually paid, so they're ads. And after that, you have an organic search, which means that it came naturally. Google ranked that page higher than its competitors. We're going to go a little bit deeper on that later, but that's really important to know that you don't necessarily need to pay to get at the top. And 54% more leads are generated by content than by paid marketing. So that's also pretty important to note. So when I say content marketing, there's There's been a lot of information about that. A lot of people call it inbound marketing. It's very similar. It's not quite the same, but it's close enough for today's goal that we can like switch between the two. It's a great way of attracting leads, so potential buyers, without going through the interruption cycle that we mentioned pre-internet earlier. So a good sentence to just remember is creating the right content for the right audience at the right time, which sounds easy, but there's a lot of thought that comes into it. So a good way to get started is always to think about your own unique value proposition. And you want to think about it without doing it in a sales pitch kind of way. You want to figure out why your business is great, why someone would choose you over your competitors. And with a product like Office 365, it's really important to figure out why you're better than all the other attendees today. You guys are all selling the same product. So you need to figure out what sets you like apart from the competition. Once you have your own unique value proposition sorted out, so you start in the middle, and then you realize, who are you talking to? That's your persona. It's a semi-realistic profile of your ideal customer. It might be a vertical, it might be a horizontal. I know Simon's going to dig into that a little bit later, but it's really important for you to focus your energy on someone specific so you don't waste your efforts going in every direction possible, because that's the best way of missing your target. And after that, if you've ever attended any marketing webinar ever,
or business, yeah,
everyone tells you to set a goal. It's not just a gimmick, it's really important, because without setting yourself up for a specific goal that's measurable and that's realistic for you, then how do you know if you succeeded or not with all the efforts that you put in? We hear all the time that marketing is difficult for MSPs. So if you don't know what you're trying to reach, then you don't know if you succeeded or not.
Maud, is it okay to ask a question?
Absolutely, go ahead.
Okay. So we have Nathan Archer who's asking, can you provide an example of a unique value proposition? Thank you, Nathan.
Absolutely. The best ones to actually compare yourself to are marketing agencies. So we often hear slogans. A slogan is really not a UVP. If you hear L'Oreal or like Maybelline, she's born with it, it doesn't mean anything. So like I don't have the exact the exact UVP like at the top of my head, but I know that HubSpot and Marketo both have like really good ones. Let me just search for it for a second.
And just to remind you, we're gonna dive into that specific about Office 365. So what are the different ways you can have you can script or create your unique value proposition around Office 365 in few slides.
Yeah, like, and I just searched while Simone was talking, a really, like, HubSpot, which is a marketing company, so they're really good at what they do. Their UVP is generate lead and close deals with the HubSpot stack. So you know what they do. You don't even ask yourself, like, what am I searching for here? A UVP tells you right away what it is that's awesome about your business. So I hope that answers your question, Nathan. If we move a little bit further, then we have the buyer's persona's journey. So usually you've picked your persona, which is part of a vertical or horizontal, like we mentioned, and that specific buyer goes through a journey. It's usually always the same. You have to realize, though, that not every potential client is going to come to you at the beginning of the funnel. So there's the awareness stage, consideration stage, and decision stage. It's entirely possible that you meet prospect A while he's in the consideration stage. So it is a funnel, but people can come in through any branches of the buyer's journey. So in the awareness stage, usually people, they express a symptom, they don't really know what's up. A good one that we often hear in the marketing way is I'm not making enough sales. So they know they have a problem. They have no idea how to approach it. So they do a little bit of research. So after that research, they move into the consideration stage. Is it because my website is not performing enough? Is it because my search engine optimization is not up? Maybe I don't have any conversion on my website. I don't have any forms that people can sign up to. Maybe my phone number is too far. So they're starting to define what's the problem and deciding what, like, the different options. And in this decision state, they have a clearer idea of what's wrong. And now they're trying to decide, am I fixing it myself? Am I hiring someone? Maybe I need a marketing agency. So they're starting to pinpoint the problem that is well defined, and they're making their way into closing that gap between the knowing and the how to solve it. So that's the buyer persona journey. It's a little bit technical, I know, but just the fact that you have those slides as reference for later might help you too. So if we go into a more specific approach, we have the same journey to the left, and to the right, where how we usually approach that is we have a visitor, a website visitor that's unknown. We don't know who he is. He just comes up as a number on our different ways of tracking. Mm-hmm. So awareness. Then he fills something. He fills a form. We get to know his name or contact form, or he downloads an offer. So we know his name. We know his email, maybe his phone number. So he becomes a lead, and he moves a little bit deeper in the funnel. So he becomes a little bit more through consideration. Now, marketing qualified lead and a sales qualified lead are a little bit more enterprise terms than SMBs, but basically it's an MQL, so a marketing qualified lead. It's someone that you know that is starting to get qualified enough to nurture. And when you get to the sales qualified lead, then it's someone that's been acting on your website enough and that you've been able to track enough to know that there's a buying interest there. So at that point, you have a salesperson or your team call them, and they become an opportunity that you can close into a customer. So you can kind of see the sales funnel compared to the marketing funnel, to the marketing journey.
Maud, if you don't mind, I might add some insights in that. Mm-hmm. So first of all, here's the good news, guys. Everyone on the line, you're inherently doing this. Okay, so you may not have the framework as presented before you. You'll get a copy of the slide deck, so don't worry about that. But inherently, those of us who are in business, we're inherently doing that, right? We're filtering and then we're trying to close the ones that will close. So that's the good news, and then this is just a way to kind of refine that thinking. And then the other thing would be the linguistics. You see different terminology out there, like sometimes they'll be called a suspect. So maybe a visitor would become a suspect, and then that becomes a lead. So please continue. But I just kind of wanted to offer a couple of different ways to view this conversation.
Yeah, like it sounds scary when you think that you're not doing any of this, but like you said, like most of you are doing at least like some part of it without even realizing it. So like don't get too nervous at this point yet. The other part that's important after the sales cycle is the tactics and tools. So the stranger through client line is basically the cycle that we had prior in the prior slide. So then you kind of have 3 action points that consist of your funnel. So you have the attraction stage, the convert, and the close. And once again, you can have those 3 at any point in the buyer's journey. So you have your stranger that you're trying to attract. How you do that is through blogs, social media, and keywords. A little bit later, we're going to talk about how to do that with Office 365, so I don't want to spend too much time on it right now. We're just going to do a little overview. So once you have a visitor on your website that's been pulled through social media, let's say, he becomes a visitor. So he is known, but he is anonymous. At this point, you want to convert him into a lead or a suspect that you have some contact information for. So you're going to have form, call to actions, and landing pages on which you're going to offer some important content that we mentioned earlier to get his contact information in exchange for something valuable like a battle card for G Suite versus Office 365 or something like that. After that, you're going to have the close section. So once you know that person, you have the contact information. Contact information is extremely valuable. Some companies out there just sell information for a living. So if you manage to get that for free, don't sit on it. Take action to close that lead into a client. So a good way to do that is through calling them, emailing them, and at first you might be a little bit uncomfortable doing that for content marketing because they haven't really reached out to you, and you're like, hey, I know your name, so I want to open a discussion with you, but still do it in a valuable way. Like, contact them and ask them if they enjoy the piece of information that you gave them, if they have any questions. So there's multiple ways of doing it in like a acceptable way.
And Maud, if again, if you don't mind, I might add on the back on the first square tract. What I've seen successfully used, and maybe not so much in the IT industry, but certainly things like the restaurant and dining industry, is offers and incentives. And so, guys, what you can do is, maybe, I don't know, maybe you have a family fishing cabin, and, one lucky winner is going to win, 4 days and 3 nights at the family fishing cabin on the river by filling out this form. And you can publicize some kind of contest. With restaurants, you tend to see, with restaurants, you tend to see win a free drink or win a free dinner. But
I'm sorry.
No, not in IT.
Well, you could do it, but you have to be careful. We've seen a lot of people do contests to actually convert visitors into lead. You just have to be mindful with it, because like I've seen a gym company offer a zoo subscription. So like their Facebook audience grew from like 400 to 9,000 based on that contest alone, and then they had tons of leads, but none of them were relevant. So you have to make a contest that helps you qualify as your lead. So try to stay like in your own expertise.
Yeah,
but
fair enough.
That's a really valid point. We've seen some MSPs offer free consultations and like free support banks and stuff like that. So you can keep that in mind. Contests are always a win. You just have to be careful about the prize. So the next slide, what is a marketing campaign? I talked about a lot of things, and all those things start with marketing campaigns. Simone's going to go a little bit deeper onto ideas that you can do for Office 365. I just want to go over what constitutes a campaign before we go any further. So you can have a campaign in attract, in convert, in close for every of those steps. But the point is to have a premium content offer, which is what I mentioned earlier. It could be a free consultation. It could be anything. It could be a battle card that I mentioned earlier. It could be a white paper. So you just come up with something creative that you think that your persona is looking for and answer some of their question. You put that content gated on a landing page. So you have a form that's going to ask them for a couple of information, not too much, their name, their email. Usually that's enough for a first touch point. And then they're going to fill that in, and they're going to receive your content offer. So that's the beginning of every marketing campaign. Then you're going to go through a nurturing phase, which is keeping contact with those leads through email. If they seem interested, you can call them back. But at first you want to include links to your blog and your social media in those emails to see if they're interested without having to call them. So if you see that your blog subscriptions are going higher, that your social media accounts have more following, then your campaign has been successful. And don't forget to analyze the result for each campaign, because then you can learn from your experience and start over again with a second campaign.
Good.
So
yeah, and I think I personally think that you can nurture somebody for a lifetime. That
Absolutely. It doesn't
you
end
know,
with the customer.
yeah. I think of our own behavior. We have a particular motion. Many on this call will receive our communications, and some hopefully have been receiving for 10, maybe 15 years. You just never know when you'll find common business interest, literally.
And as the MSP field, like, it's really wide, so we don't really want to open a conversation saying, oh, I do this and I do this and I do this and I can solve that problem for you. You open the conversation with one problem, and then if they listen in, if they want to know more, then you nurture them into knowing everything that you do, right? So it's a constant conversation. Think about it like knowing a friend.
So thank you, Maude. So that sets the ground into what is inbound marketing and content marketing, as to when we refer to generate leads and do some online effort. So let's jump into the customer's journey of Office 365 offering. So let's talk about the unique value proposition that Maude mentioned. So what does it mean for Office 365? Well, the first thing you have to keep in mind is that maybe it's not about Office 365 at all. And I'm pretty sure that most of MSPs today, customers don't come in asking for Office 365. But probably some clients do. They've read about it on the web, as we talked about, and they looked at Microsoft sites, so they know the price, they know the plans. They just need you to do it for them and advise them on what's the best plan and best offer. And the other thing that's really that you need to do is to narrow your value prop by different angles. So one of them is verticals. We hear verticals all the time: industries, legal, manufacturing, telecommunications. So that's just examples of the top IT spending. Of course, one of them that I like pretty much, it's the professional services, because it's in the middle there. It's not the highest, but it's usually smaller companies that are easier to win versus banking, for example, or other companies, but have high value into digital content, because professional services could be I don't know, technician or accountant, or anyone that uses all of his time on a computer, has high value in digital content. So these people could be a good vertical for you. But it's also horizontal business, so processes inside businesses. Usually when you're horizontally focused, your target market is more enterprise, because you're targeting specific like workloads inside this enterprise. So metadata management, it could be document management, analytics, some strategy around IT that you're doing, risk management, process control. So there's all kinds of specific horizontal that you can do, specialization, yeah. And technology. So some MSPs are specialized in search, others in monitoring, security, networking. So there's a lot of different technology that you can focus on. Office 365, as sad as it could sound, is not as a technology that's specific enough to be focused on.
You have to package on top of it to adjust your speech to a technology.
Or it can be a specific technology inside Office 365 or the Microsoft Cloud offering. Geographically also, that's something that you need to, a lot of partners are probably focused on. So you have a specific workforce inside in your local, you have proximity, yeah, thanks, to your customers, and that's something that no one can take you. So that's another.
We often see the location being attacked through words of mouth and like Chamber of Commerce tactics and stuff like that, but don't forget online. It's also really valuable to focus on that with your website and your content.
Yeah, that's going to help you when you're doing online marketing to add that location level. Yeah. So why? Yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to say, just before I forget, there may be a slide where it's a better fit, but one thing I wanted to add is when you talk about the online experience, mobile first guys always think about developing your forms and web pages. And again, this isn't quite the right slide. We just had to bring this up. But Maud, I wanted to
more than a valid point.
Get your opinions on that. You know, we're seeing 60% plus of the traffic out there is mobile, and
Absolutely.
you just look at your bus ride in the morning. Your bus ride, everybody's on their phones reading.
And even more specifically, emails. Emails are being consumed a lot more through mobile than computers now. Think about your boss that you mentioned. I usually read email, but I don't look at website that much in the bus, but emails are easier to consume through mobile now. So why you need like specialization or consideration you have to think about when you do write down your value prop is the balance you're going to have to do between a broader and a deeper specialization. Think that when you're going broader, of course you'll have more customers. There's a bigger segment, for example, just focusing on Office 365, but there's also more competitors and less value when you're doing your services. So that's an important point to consider. I talked about competitors, but they're at the end. So yeah, of course, you have many competitors, fewer competitors. You have a lower delivery cost if you're just offering Office 365 licenses, but if you're offering a whole integration of intranet, for example, your costs are going to be higher, but you're going to bring a lot more value to your customers than just selling them a plan that they could buy on Microsoft website. So that's these are important points you need to consider when doing that balancing act. Now, you can see on your left, we're going to go through the attack plan that Maud talked about earlier, starting with the convert point, and that's an important point to consider. You want to start, once you have your value proposition, your personas, and you know how many leads you want to consider, you want to start with the content that you're going to use as bait. It's kind of when you're going fishing, you want to start by buying the worms. So what is the content that you're going to use? Here I just pasted at one of Microsoft content, which I think it's awesome, but obviously we're not Microsoft. Few people can do that. It's like an online calculator where it gives you the ROI right on the spot. That's like the high hand of content. So let's not start with that, but that's like the holy grail. You want to keep it very simple on a page its whole purpose is just to convert on that specific content. So here's an example from an ebook.
And that's what we call the landing page. Most of the time it's outside of your website and it doesn't include what's normally on your website. There's no menu, there's no contact page. The only option that the visitor has is filling in the form or closing it with the X button.
Exactly. Usually there's their logo. They can go back on your website if they click there, but that's very rare behavior. The other thing that's important to keep in mind is use the topic as a qualifying question. So see this MSP Broadview Networks, they have a whole bunch of ebooks around phone systems and VoIP. So this one, 6 ways to turn your business phone system into a revenue engine. In fact, what they're trying to sell you is Skype for Business calling plans and VoIP, so and online cloud PBX. So it's very far from the product, but it's when people download this, the provider knows that they have problems or they're looking into phone systems. So that's a very important point to keep in mind when thinking about your topic. And I would even say start with your topic. Start with what your customers are asking, the questions that they come to you and they ask, and put it out there on the web.
Like that would be an awareness offer, like that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Like the question that this ebook answers is, how can I make money with a phone system?
And don't be too narrow or down the funnel. Like don't start with the close phase, because like this form, for example, from NSI, it's very good on your website because you want people on your website that are looking at your company to contact you, but it does not generate a lot of conversion. So out of 100 visits, you'll get, I don't know, one, maybe points of percentage, but out of an ebook, which is less involving, you'll get a lot more leads, so names, because it's not as engaging as asking you a phone call. So that's an important thing to keep in mind.
And what I was going to add is I haven't been completely fair with the both of you. I have a background. I helped a big data startup for 2 years in Seattle and recently exited that opportunity. But forums are everything, and what that means, that is the conversion event. And for the purposes of today, you're exactly right. And there's some really good forms tools out there that I really like, Unbounce and Wufoo, and they have all these forms templates. And guys, if you're hand coding HTML forms, shame on you, because there are some really good forms out there.
Yeah, we have a slide at every point to show you some tools.
Yeah, HTML is not a necessity in anything in marketing, basically.
Yeah, and finally, for that point of converting, start small and improve if popular. So, for example, that's 6 ways of converting phone systems into revenue stream. You don't have to write the perfect document the first time. The title and the first draft, let's start with that and try to generate leads. If it's not working, you're not going to have spent hundreds of hours building a content that's not working. But if you do get a lot of downloads, well, you can do a version 2 and version 3 because people like it and people download it and they need it, they want to read it. So start small. You don't have to
pick something that's valuable, but don't spend hours developing content.
Yeah, the audience, that's a good point. The audience have to be happy about giving
it has to teach them something.
So this is the funnel that Maud presented, but a bit more around Office 365. So look at the right. We have higher in the funnel would be people are interested in solutions to solve their problems or their IT problem. So again, the phone system would be a good example of something that's higher in the funnel. Lower in the funnel, you would have people interested in Office 365 solutions. So, like they already decided that Office 365 was the right
like they know the solution.
A software or solution for the problem, but they're not sure yet where to
who to partner with.
Yeah, and that's lower down the funnel. It's like, okay, now I know I want Office 365, but I'm looking at a provider for Office 365. Maybe in my region, maybe about a provider that has specific skills. So that's where your unique value proposition comes in play. And we give you here a couple of free content that you can take and repurpose. So that's not just something for you to look at and say, oh, okay, I need to create my own. No, that's actually resources that ShareWeb and Microsoft gives you that you can copy and paste and maybe tweak the title, add your own value prop. If it's, for example, in the middle of the funnel, the free ebook from ShareWeb, Empower Small Business for Office 365, you can just add Empower Small Business, small legal firm about Office 365, and you just add a couple of points inside the document about legal and specific to that, and here you have your content, and you haven't spent like hundreds of hours to write it.
No, that's exactly right. There's a lot of ways to curate content. syndicate content. And what I've said, I'm interested in your opinion on this one, guys, is that I think the case can be made for having some content that's business speak. Maybe the top 7 ways to keep employee retention or something, as much as articles on ransomware and backup and disaster recovery. Now, and I'm truly interested in your opinion, because I'm just a little worried that if geeks write for geeks and then you share this content out, you're trying to talk to a small business person, and they may not be a geek.
Yeah, that's why I refer you to the slide where we talked about persona. You really have to know your client, and you have to write for them. A lot of people that start with content marketing actually write kind of for themselves, or like how they're used to talk to coworkers. And scratch that. You're talking to a potential client, so adapt all your lingo, all your linguistics, all your habits of talking to someone that has no clue what you're talking about.
I got a question from Tony. Tony asked, how do you feel about HubSpot for automated marketing? So maybe if you guys would like to answer Tony's question.
May I?
Yeah, we'll leave Mo, who's an expert on the subject.
We're laughing because I have a background in marketing agencies. I used to work for clients and through marketing, and we were a HubSpot partner. So I'm completely sold. They also have a free option that's in the tools that we're going to mention. HubSpot is expensive. You have to invest a lot of time, but if you have the budget for it, it is the top marketing platform out there. Their service is also excellent. They help you every step of the way. They have the HubSpot Academy, which you can subscribe to for free and get inbound certified. So all that is valuable information. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money. So you have to consider that first. If both of those things are available to you, then I would certainly recommend to use it. But it starts like the medium price is like $800 a month with a commitment to start. Yeah. So you can go with the lower end, but like you get scaled up to the medium one like really quickly anyway.
Yeah, and what I've seen is, and thank you for the question, what I saw with HubSpot, I do think it's one of the better choices, because it's Marketo and Eloqua are even more expensive, has been my experience. Yeah, but we had an enterprise client, again back to the big data thing, and we had an enterprise client, and they were using the HubSpot for more what I would call the behavioral lead scoring and analysis, and it's not predictive in nature, like math. And it, but here was the challenge, and you kind of brushed over it, is that nobody at this $50 million enterprise would own HubSpot and do it, so it kind of sat there. It doesn't do it on its own. That's what I'm really trying to say, is you can subscribe to it, but it doesn't do it on its own.
Yeah, you either need a marketing resources that's dedicated through putting everything in HubSpot, or you need the time to do it yourself. And at first, because everything that we mentioned, like the campaigns, the content, like it needs to be written. So HubSpot is never going to do that for you. So the marketing assets, either you go through white labeling, like the options that we're presenting right now, or you create everything yourself. So it needs a time commitment that's important, especially at first.
Very cool.
And that's,
please continue.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, because time is running. We have a lot of content to go through. So yeah, these are just 2 resources that I wanted to share with you. They're all clickable links you'll have in the presentation again. But Microsoft has a site where they have assets to give you to start with that you can use as gated content to get the leads. And ShareWeb too, we have a lot of content there, not only in PDF but also in Word that you can tweak, as I mentioned, with your own value prop and change the title and reuse. So feel free to do that. Of course, you have to become a partner with ShareWeb to access the toolbox, though. Same thing for Microsoft. And here are some of the tools that we, some of them we touched on, so like web forms that you don't have to code, and HubSpot, and
CTAs for call to action, by the way.
Yes, CTAs. So it's all going to be there for you to have a look and use. So let's move to the other big part, the attract part. So now you have a landing page with a content that's appealing to your audience, and that you can show your own value prop in it. A lot of people are not afraid, but say, "Oh, I'm going to use social medias," like you mentioned in the morning, in the beginning, and so it's free. But I'm a bit advocate of paid in a way that it's not too expensive for smaller businesses, and I recommend to use both, and we're going to take a look at it. So let's start with free tactics. Organic search, of course, you want to rank, and a good way to do that is by starting a blog. It may sound afraid, but I can tell you it's not that time-consuming if you have a calendar and you have you publish periodically, so you can decide to publish only once a month if that's what you can afford, but at least start and do it, and
It's going to take longer, but eventually you're going to have results anyway.
yeah, so it's very long-term play, but I would recommend at least weekly or bi-weekly to make sure you have some activity in there. It's not that hard to.
And if you feel like you're not a writer, know that there's tools out there, and if like we're going to have a tool slide later on, but you can go through upworks.com, which is just like hiring professionals to write articles for you. The offer that I'm working on that's going to be for partners at SureWeb, like we're going to provide pre-written blogs for you guys, so you can like leverage that. You can hire an intern over the summer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of solutions that you can apply that.
Yeah, that's actually Mo's job now. She's writing blogs for partners to use. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of resources available. Another thing that you can do to make that easier, this is an example of an ebook we created, a guide, in fact, for migrating Office 365 targeted at MSPs. We broke it down into 3 different pieces and have 3 different blogs. So your 3 blogs are actually part of your ebook, but you're kind of giving a part of your ebook in a blog and saying, hey, to get the whole thing, download the document. So
that's a little teaser.
That's a little teaser. So that's a good tactic to have 3 blogs already written pretty quickly. Promote your content in your blog. So you have in-text hyperlinks that you have to put in your blog to go through that content, that landing page that we talked about. You can put some banners at the bottom. You can put some banners on the side. There's all kinds of tactics to make sure that when the readers are reading that blog, they convert to your content. So you actually get the name of the people that read that blog and that have that challenge and that problem that you can solve with your solution. And finally, use a mix of short and long-term and long-tail keywords. So for that, what we mean is that short tail, for example, would be Office 365 versus Hosted Exchange, or Office 2016 versus 2013. So very generic terms that a lot of people are searching. Of course, it's going to be hard to be ranked higher, but once you get these high traffic, you'll get a better authority on your site. So that's going to help your other pages to rank too. The other pages, which are more the long tail, so a long tail would be the going back again to that phone system, but a long tail would be Office 365 consultant for law firms, for example. That's very long tail, but very specific. People have legal problems with Office 365, but that's going to help these pages to rank better too. And finally, use your corporate website domain. So don't write blogs on I don't know, WordPress.com/your name, and then try to refer to your own site. Having momentum or weekly published or monthly published and visits on your blog will help your corporate site to rank. So that's very powerful tool just to help your corporate website.
Yeah, and I would add here that something a lot of people don't know. I'm most familiar with Unbounce forums. I have worked with Wufoo, but I'm super deep on Unbounce, and because we have a technical audience, guys, you can go into your DNS, and I think it's a CNAME record or an A record. I think it's CNAME, and you can basically make an Unbounce form have your domain name. And so, Simon, to your point, you have that branding consistency, right, in the URL, and it's not wonky, it's not weird.
It's not even about branding. It's about
SEO.
Google, SEO. So Google it's gonna see your site, your blog as relevant pages that it's being updated often, and it's gonna give more relevance to your corporate website if it's sitting on the same domain.
It is both.
There we go.
Like you mentioned, like it is also about authority.
Yeah,
you know,
that
like
too.
it is like brand recognition, stuff like that. You have to kind of have a mix of the two.
So now, of course, you need to apply some basic SEO rules on your website, so your corporate website too. Your pages needs to be. It's a rigorous process, but there's a lot of guide out there. We're not going to go through that. HubSpot, SEO Moz, and search. There's a lot of people, a lot of guide that are very step by step on what you should do to make sure that your pages are well organized or well
Optimized.
Drafted.
That could be a webinar on itself, you know. So it's a really deep subject. So we're kind of just like doing an overview now and pointing out like stuff you can read.
So you also need to outline the problems that you solve for Office 365 and not just the problem that Office 365 solve. I had a picture, but it doesn't show. I don't know why. If you show plans and prices, limit the 3 or less categories. So don't try to put all the Office 365 plans. People tend to have a difficult time when put into a choice of multiple options. Limit the 3 or 2 categories if you want to put more plans.
You want to avoid sensory overload, basically.
Yeah, it's on the next page. And have a clear mid, bottom, or mid or bottom of the funnel call to action. So just don't put your plans there and have nothing to present or to show. And that's the example that I wanted to show you. Like Nimbus Logic, they start with why buy Nimbus Logic and not why buy Office 365. And you see the plans at the bottom of their page. It's slower, so you actually have to read who they are and what they have to offer on top of it before going to the plans. And they have that purchase plans at the top. And if you go on the left, that's the bottom of the page, they actually have a contact us form or button in there. So that's the call to action, the bottom of the funnel call to actions that you have to put on your website. So it's either a promotion, a free trial, a contact us for a free professional assessment, or anything that's really like, let's get started now. And a bad example would be from that MSP who just embed an Office 365 web form, not web form, but
an iframe from
iframe from the Microsoft. So you actually, there's nothing here that tells me why these providers are better for Office 365. You click on that and install Microsoft content, all about the product, not what the MSP can solve. The business problem they can solve to that customer. So.
And now, if you're doing this right now, don't feel guilty. It's an awesome way of getting started, but like think very, very hard about how you can add a little bit of value to that content and a call to action that's specific to you.
Yeah. And we're going to go pretty quickly on that, but public relations are also super important, and in that are included the social medias. So of course, when you do write a blog, the next thing you want to do is promote it on your Facebook page, on your LinkedIn profile, and maybe not only just once. You can plan in a week, in 2 weeks, to re-promote that same blog because not everyone saw it.
Try different times and different days.
Yeah, and talk in the forums, attend event. I think you guys are pretty good at this, though. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but just the fact that you're there today, that you're attending this event and that you probably attend some of the other SMB Nation event and talk to peers. That's something that you're pretty good. But maybe another point in PR is talking to journalists or influencers that can talk about your business, and when you have news or specific unique value proposition, again, that's a good thing to think about.
And try to do that locally. Your Chamber of Commerce is a good tool for that.
So in paid, a few key points that I want to make sure I can highlight before the end of the presentation. You don't be afraid. You have to be there. That's a good example. The long tail keywords, what does that mean? For example, you wouldn't pay per click for Office 365 keywords on Google. That would be too much expensive. Not even for Office 365 consultant keywords. But if you're a consultant in New York, you probably want to have Office 365 consultant New York as a paid keyword. There's not a lot of volume, but if someone is looking for that, you want to make sure that if your site does not rank organically on the top, you want to be sure you're there. And these are good examples of ads that consultant put there for that specific search. So that's not super expensive for the quality of the search that is being done there. And make sure to use retargeting. So what that does is that when people visited your website, they're going to be bombarded with advertising of your company everywhere they go on the internet. And that's very cheap and very effective method of doing paid advertising. It's actually not paid search in that circumstance, but that's a very effective way to do online advertising at very little cost. And you're not even paying for the impressions. You're just paying for the clicks. So that's super effective, and I think every MSP should do at least these two things.
And to tie into what you said earlier, Harry, when you said that you hear your web all the time, like we do with our retargeting as part of our strategy, so I'm pretty sure it's part of why you keep hearing about us.
Yeah, you guys are always following me around.
And another point is paid social. So LinkedIn is now a very powerful tool for targeting advertising. It's not like Google around the search and interest, but it's more around the persons. And because people put their very true business profile in that social media, you can target pretty effectively people in your location. That have, you can even import specific lists. So if there's a Chamber of Commerce in your company, in your area, you want to import that list in LinkedIn and just target the executive or owners of these business, you can do that with LinkedIn. So that's a pretty effective way to target very few people, but very qualified.
LinkedIn groups are important too when targeting comes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and if you don't mind, and folks, we're going to run a little bit over time. We're approaching the top of the hour, but
yeah,
really good topic. What I liked about LinkedIn, or about LinkedIn, is it's a really cool way to find lookalikes and nearest next door neighbor, as we would say in the predictive side, and so you can find that model client of yours, right? Client A, and then if you look over to the right, and if they expose their friends list, people tend to hang with people like themselves. And LinkedIn, under the I guess the Microsoft acquisition, but recently it's become a lot easier. It feels easier to do second level connections, to introduce yourself and do a second level connection. So it's all right there. If you're targeting veterinarians, the client A, the veterinarian, probably has veterinarian friends, and they kind of show up over on the right side. Mm-hmm. Very, very good stuff.
Yeah. And another point you want to keep in mind when you're doing LinkedIn advertising is you're only paying for clicks. So you want to make sure that people that click on your ad expect to download something. So these are two examples of advertisings that we do. It's very clear that they get our free ebook, they have to click on that, and then they get it to a landing page, and then they have to download that ebook. if you have a very blurry message, you might get a lot of clicks, but once they get on your landing page, they're kind of surprised and they're like, oh, I wasn't expected to fill out a form, and then you pay for a lot of clicks that doesn't convert. So that's something you want to avoid. So be very, very clear and front and center about what you're offering if they click. And let's do this. Yeah. So again, event, community, and sponsorship. If you have a bit more money to spend, that could be a good way. Local events, breakfast, inviting your customers to talk about case studies that how you've helped them. It's a good way to network and also find new customers. So you can use that event online as a lead generation machine, if I can say, or content. So people will register, whether it's a live event or just a local event.
We've seen a lot of MSPs actually use like a cheap way of doing it is hosting a little cybersecurity like seminar in your own shop, and then like asking for business cards, and then like nurture them through email or through an online way afterwards. So that's really proven to be effective with the MSP.
Cyber security is a very hot topic in MSPs, not MSPs, but SMBs today. If you do sponsor events, we found that smaller events, even maybe smaller than 100 attendees, have a higher effective rate. So you can talk to a lot more people. People remember you a lot more. And if you go to you sponsor event with thousands of attendees, so that's a little thing to keep in mind. And make sure you get the leads. So if you sponsor an event, or if you invite people to your breakfast, so make sure to get the business card or get the leads, so you can continue the conversation after with them by calling and sending emails. And finally, display. It's something that I really don't like about Google, because there's a lot of fraud and people that are we're talking about fake news these days, but there's also a lot of people that creates website that looks like an IT website and that, or an IT publisher, and then your ads is getting there, but it's just to get clicks and get revenue. So if you do that, be very specific and do site matching. So if there's some site like this, IT Edge is a relevant site, so the banner that you see on top is actually Google who's putting it there. You can be there if you want, and you just have to select the sites that you want and not do the opposite and just the IT interests.
Yeah, don't start your campaign and let it run. Like actually be mindful and monitor.
It's going to be very expensive. So these are tools that we talked about. Some of them, some like Upworks and WordPress, and some analytics. But you'll have the presentation to give you some ideas: social medias, keywords, Finder, and different sites. And finally, this is just one slide to close. I think you're pretty good with that. You're not overloaded with leads. So when you get them, you have to email and call them, and that's very important. Be very responsive. So what we found is that the sooner you can send an email, at least acknowledging that they've downloaded that and that you can help them with that, the better it is. But don't talk about your business. When people download a content, you want to reach out to them, say, hey, I've seen you downloaded the content. Can I help you about that challenge that you seem to have because you were interested in that? Not talking about, hey, do you know us? You want to talk about my business? That's a common failure that we've made ourselves and that we've seen from.
It's the interruption that we mentioned earlier.
Well, and Simon and Maud, what I would add here is speed to lead is what we call the concept. And in the terms of the MSP, folks, you got to remember that the potential customer has probably filled out, let's just say for the sake of argument, they filled out 3 or 4 other forms. So, they're looking at different firms that probably provide a similar service. And speed to lead, Maud, could be one of the unique value propositions.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you can jump on that, if you can jump on that in the first hour, In other industries like insurance, it's literally minutes. Go, go, if you want to have fun, go to one of those insurance aggregator sites, folks, after this webinar and fill it out with your mobile phone, and your phone is going to blow up in minutes.
That's a good
And that's
point.
actually what you want to do too.
Yep.
So here are some tools. The arrow's not the right place, but some tools to help you with automated emails and HubSpot, free CRM, like we talked about. So other tools to help you with that portion. So hopefully a lot of you knows what we're doing already. ShareWeb is a distributor in the CSP business, so we're helping partners onboarding, selling, provisioning, migrating, and supporting your customers with Microsoft Cloud Solutions and some of our own IP too. Just want to mention there, we have a running promo that started on Monday that's running by the end of June, which can get you up to $90 per seat for Office 365, Dynamics, and Project. So we have a webinar on May 9th. The landing page is coming soon, but you can register to that webinar if you want to get more information. And that's it. Sorry, everyone, for delaying that time.
Thank you for staying with us for those extra 7 minutes.
Harry? Still there?
Yeah, I went on mute. I was just starting to do a wrap up. So, folks, thank you very much for joining us for the weekly webinar and the conversation. I got to tell you, this is one of the best ones in quite a while. I'm partial to this area of marketing analytics, but it just makes so much sense. And I'll leave my part with this thought that we have a technical audience listening today, and guys, if you just kind of wrap your head around this, marketing analytics and some of the stuff we're talking about is technical. Okay, so the way you had fun with the servers, you can actually have fun with this, right? Get your head into this. You can have it's kind of geeky. So, well, if everybody thinks we're clear, it looks like we're good on questions. We ran a little bit over, so why don't we call it good? So thank you, Maud and Simon and ShareWeb, and we'll see you guys on the flip side. Thank you very much.
We have our emails in the slides too, so for questions, that's always relevant.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll get the deck out.
With you.
Yeah, there you go. Right on. Okay. All right, Jenny, take us out.